Hey, what's up everyone, Danny here. Graphics card prices have been slowly declining and they continue to drop by the day, so that means budget PC builds are back on the menu. And I don't mean systems that use really low-end cards that nobody wanted even during the shortages, or systems relying on an APU for the graphics. We're talking builds with solid graphics cards in them that give an enjoyable gaming experience for pretty much any title you can throw at it. This build right here is one that I was able to put together for pretty easily under $450 using a combination of new, used, and certified refurbished parts. I deal hunted for this on one of my weekly streams, and in another one I built it from start to finish. I stream every single Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, so be sure to stop by and hang out if you haven't yet. We do a lot of fun stuff there. But without further ado, let's hop right into what makes up this build. Starting off with the processor, I went with Intel's i3-10100F. This CPU is the poster child for budget builds right now. There's no other chip I can think of that's priced below $70 that offers this much performance and can easily be picked up in this price bracket any day of the week. I personally like going with the Amazon warehouse listings since used CPUs, especially locked ones like this one, are pretty safe, and there you can find it closer to $60, which is phenomenal value considering this is based on modern architecture that's only a couple of years old. To cool it, I'm using the stock cooler because it's free and it's more than enough cooling performance for low TDP chips like the i3s. For the motherboard, I went with the absolute lowest price board I could find, which was this MSI B560M Pro Micro ATX for $49 from Amazon Warehouse. This is a very basic board, but for the purposes of primarily gaming and at this price point, it serves its intended purpose. For the graphics card, this build will be featuring a Founders Edition GTX 1070. I was able to pick this up for $150, and I made an entire video around me picking it up. Definitely check that out if you haven't seen it yet, because that deal ended up being way crazier than I ever imagined. But GTX 1070s in general have dropped sub $200 now on eBay, floating around $170 usually, which means your local market should be a little bit cheaper than that. When I was looking, I was pretty easily able to find multiple options for $150. This is a very solid card despite being 6 years old, allowing you to play pretty much any modern title at 1080p with more than passable FPS and graphics settings. If you really need the ability to enable ray tracing and DLSS, you could spend a little bit more money and get a little bit of uplift in performance, going with something like the RTX 2060, which are pretty easily had for around $200. Another alternative option, if you can't find either of those cards, are RX 5600 XTs. Those are a solid choice that you can fit into a build like this and give you very similar performance. Those usually go for around like 180 or 190 as of me making this video. So if you can't find one specific card, be flexible to either the 1070, 2060s, or 5600 XTs. Those all work great in a build sub $500. For memory, I went with 16 gigabytes of G-Skill Ripjaws at 3200 MHz CL16. These were $50, which is pretty much the standard price for 16 gigs at these speeds. Not really going for anything too flashy or fancy for this build either. Aesthetics wise, these plain simple kits work perfectly. Storage wise, I went with a 500GB Western Digital Blue SN570, which you can usually pick up a like new one on Amazon Warehouse for around $40, but I was able to grab mine for even a little bit less than that, brand new from Newegg with a coupon code during a sale. This is very much a budget NVMe drive, but for the majority of users out there, particularly people who pretty much only game, browse, and consume media on their PCs, they wouldn't really be able to tell the difference between this and a more premium drive. For the power supply, I went with an EVGA B-Stock 600GD. This is pretty much on sale every single Wednesday during their midweek madness for $35. And being B-Stock means it's refurbished, though it does come with a 1-year warranty, which EVGA is really good about should any issues come up. I've had both power supplies and graphics cards from B-Stock need to be replaced for one reason or another, and their customer service has been top notch. If you got more to spend, feel free to buy a new unit. The reason I went used for this build was to keep the price down. And last but not least, the case, which was very much a decision based on personal preference on my end, and was by no means a value play. If you're trying to follow this as a template for your own budget build, feel free to choose whichever case you want. I often use these build videos as opportunities to build inside new cases that I've never tried before. But this is the Sama S88BK, which looks a lot like those iconic Lenovo ThinkCenter towers you may have seen before. I've been obsessed with cases with handles for years now, so when I first learned about this case, I just had to pick it up and use it in the next budget build that I could fit it in. Some good things about this case is that it does come with 3 included fans, which are actually pretty quiet despite being generic fans from an unknown make and model. It does also have tempered glass as opposed to acrylic for the side panel, and it does have a power supply basement. The biggest pro for me though is of course the handle, which is very sturdy and provides a lot of utility for when you want to easily handle your PC. Normally you're going to want to hold it with 2 hands despite having a very good grip, but I'm just showing you for reference that you have a full PC, you know, filled with parts in here, and it can be supported and shaken around with the handle with one hand. This case does have some classic signs of being a budget case though, like the pocketed side panel because the back of the motherboard tray is very shallow with not much room at all, the breakaway expansion slot brackets, the 4 thumb screws that go through the holes on the tempered glass to secure it onto the case, and in general, the overall construction and build quality is very fitting of its $50 price and many budget cases like it. Alright, let's quickly take a look at the build summary and price breakdown. This all came in a little bit under that $450 mark plus tax. Given the parts that we have here and the benchmark results that you've seen a bit, I'm pretty happy with the final outcome and price. Now I know this PC isn't that much of a looker, but here's my best attempt at glamorizing it and attempting to make it look sexy with some fancy B-roll. Okay, time to take a look at the performance. This system is very much targeted at 1080p gaming. However, I did decide to run all the games at 1440p as well, just to see how the GTX 1070 holds up at that resolution in modern titles. At less than $450, I don't think anyone should expect spectacular performance at 1440p, but some of the results that you're about to see may surprise you. I chose graphics settings I thought were the most suitable for 1080p, which range anywhere from medium to completely maxed out depending on the title, and I kept the exact same graphic settings across both resolutions to show the performance drop directly due to the resolution change. I also added in some streaming performance for anyone else curious about that. That will be at the end of the benchmarks. But yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Enormous, instantaneous.
So there you have it. I think this build is very solid and can run pretty much any title thrown at it with no issues at all when it comes to straight gameplay. However, if you're trying to double up and do things like stream and record on top of gaming, that's when you may start running into problems as shown in the benchmarks depending on the title. Mind you, gameplay on my end was perfectly smooth during the testing. It was just the viewer experience that was a stuttery frozen mess. You can stream some games just fine, especially esports titles. Those are going to be no issues at all. And some of the other titles that don't completely utilize all the CPU and GPU, you can do those fine too. But games that are already pegging both of those at near 100% before streaming, yeah, you're not going to be able to stream those because that's a pretty high expectation for something at this low of a price. We got to keep our expectations in check. But like I said at the beginning of this video though, we're in really good times right now for budget PC gamers, and it should be getting better as we continue forward to the late summer when more graphics cards are expected to hit the used market. The US is a little bit behind on this as we've not yet seen the mass exodus of mining cards like what's been seen in Asia, but many are speculating that it's coming soon. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope you all enjoyed and found it either entertaining or useful in one way or another. Let me know your thoughts on the build overall, and for $450 or less, how would you have planned this build differently aside from the case? Because I know not everyone is obsessed with handles and I could have gone with something cheaper there. But what about the rest of the build though? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. That's going to be it for me though. I want to thank you all as always for watching and for continuing to support the channel, and I want to give a huge shout out to the channel members, which has exploded in recent weeks with the new addition of gifted memberships during the streams. To those of you out there who have been super generous and giving a ton of gifted memberships, you know who you are. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Other than that though, be safe out there, and I will see you down in the comments as well as in the next stream and or video. Bye.